Hello. So, I'm here to talk about the version of the exquisite script that I've been working on. Let's load it up. So, this is using an internal supercollider engine. This is not Just Friends. This is my dog whining. But most of what you're hearing is Imaginary Friends, a supercollider engine. I've changed very little in the original script at this point. I've just added this line declaring the engine. I'm going to play with my levels here a little bit. So I've added this line to declare the engine, and instead of setting j to crow.ii.jf, I'm pulling in a file I wrote called lib/ifs. It's also calling this method, or this function, j.addparams, that we've got to do because there's no front panel with a bunch of different controls. Got to register some params with the norns param engine. That's also why the UC44 is here. UC4? Yeah, whatever it is. So let's take a look at the IFS file. I'm going to turn this down just a little bit while we discuss this. So, this is the Lua wrapper for the engine, and it lives here in the lib folder. There isn't that much going on. I started this out by, just sort of checking which Just Friends functions the original script called, and it was really just mode and play voice. So pretty easy to emulate that that API. Yeah, those are the three functions on J that are called, and I added one of them. So, mode would choose between synthesis and geode modes. Imaginary Friends cannot yet imagine geode mode. So all mode does is throw an error if you call it without an argument of 1. And play voice just takes these 3 arguments, voice, pitch, and level. And voice is a 1-based index, 1 through 6 of the Just Friends voices. Pitch is a pitch measured in sort of virtual volts, where 1.0 is 1 octave. Level is also measured in virtual volts, so 10 is kind of full volume. 0 would be a note off if I had implemented sustain mode, which I have not. Because writing these engines takes a minute, at least when you're done. So I'm converting the pitch to a frequency here by just raising the pitch to a power of 2 and multiplying it by a base note, 440 here. If I was trying to emulate Just Friends God mode, I would make this a variable that could be changed with the God function, set it to 432. Yeah, but I haven't done that. Level, just divide that by 10. 1.0 is going to be the maximum when it gets into Super Collider. params I'm going to touch on a little bit later. It's important that at the end of this include file, I'm returning the imaginary friends table. And that's what allows me to do j equals include lib/ifs. If I didn't return it, the j would be set to nil, and norns would yell at me for trying to index a nil value. So let's take a look at the supercollider side. The bulk of this is pretty much focused on doing the wave shaping that Just Friends allows using the ramp and curve controls. Just take a look at this. So there's these controls. I only learned how this worked today. Basically, I thought ramp and curve controlled an envelope, but not, I think, when you're in synthesis mode. You've got your base carrier oscillator is kind of wave-shaped by these two parameters. Ramp is sort of a pulse width, or controls the proportion of time spent in the rise versus the fall cycle of this triangle core. And curve does this curve-based wave shaping. Takes you from a pulse wave to this kind of shark going one direction, to a triangle wave, to the shark going the other way, to a kind of sinusoidal-ish thing. And so yeah, that's what I was doing a lot of the day-to-day, or a lot of the daytime portion of my stream today, was working out how to emulate that in supercollider, building this kind of triangle core oscillator. I'm gonna switch to supercollider for a minute, where I've got a just to the IDE where I'm running a kind of simulation of that. So I've pulled a bunch of the this synth-def code out of norns and dropped it into supercollider here, just in a function. I've stripped out some of the envelope stuff because that's not useful for viewing this in a multi-channel scope. And then, yeah, and the function that's generating all of these ugens, I'm calling scope on it. That is where we get this. So let's see, yeah, at the top, you can't see where I'm pointing. At the top is the triangle core, and you can see as I move my mouse left and right, that's controlling the ramp, and as I move my mouse up and down, that's going to be controlling curve. The top there is the triangle, as you can see. Below that is, I have to derive this pulse wave from the triangle. That is high when the triangle is rising and low when it's falling. So as you can see, you can just vary the duty cycle of that pulse along with the triangle wave. And then the three things below that are kind of where it gets interesting or crazy. I've supercollider. Let's look at the code for a second. We can ignore these for the moment when we're talking about the wave shaping, but this isn't really, I'm not using like a triangle ugen for this. I'm using something called varsaw. That is precisely the kind of variable duty cycle triangle wave. Can morph between this kind of a saw to this kind of a saw. And deriving the pulse wave from that, I'm scaling the curve parameter from the initial range of -1 to 1 into a range of, well, it's like it's ultimately going to be like -80 to 10 or something. But that is taking the 1-to-1 range, clipping it. I'm ignoring the top quarter of that of its range. We're clipping it to -1 to 0.5, and that's because I'm really only using this curve control for this portion of the like the throw of that knob. The sign is going to come in later in a moment. And I'm trying to shape that into kind of a tangent shape so that you get, as you turn the knob counterclockwise or you reduce the value of this parameter, it's producing rapidly more extremely negative values, while the center of the control is kind of, it levels off a little bit. We're getting a shape sort of like this. That's what all of this absolute, and then calling lin curve, and then multiplying curve back by, or multiplying this back by the original sign of the curve argument parameter. Kind of using the term argument and parameter interchangeably. So sorry about that. And then I'm creating these two different versions of the triangle wave. One which is shaped sort of like in lowercase n, or yeah, this kind of convex mound shape. And another that is shaped this sort of sharp peak. And I need to sort of switch between those two different versions. Oh, and the amount by which it, either, starts, here's a triangle wave, the degree to which it's warped like this or warped like this is also dependent on the curve control. And that's what the scaled curve that I'm generating there is for. I'm just doing them, they're inverse from one another. That's why I've got scaled curve and I've got scaled curve.neg here. .neg is the same as scaled curve times -1. Yeah, then, like I said, I need to kind of switch back and forth between those two shaped versions of the triangle wave based on the rising and falling state. That's how I'm going to get the shark fin shaped waveforms. Because this is, they're both half mound, half peak. It's just which half is different. So let's switch back to this scope, and oh, do I not? No. Okay. So you can see the mound taking shape there. The two different curved versions of the triangle wave. And those are being switched between based on the pulse wave. So here, I'm gonna have to sort of move the mouse in order to demonstrate this, but like here's the rising portion. And yeah, we're getting the rising portion of the bottom of these two waves, and then the falling portion of this wave down here. This is the ultimate, like, this is the end result of this wave shaping process. This is all what I think you would call like very naive DSP. When you actually listen to this, there are definitely like kind of inharmonic. I mean, we're listening to it right now, and it doesn't sound that bad, but they're sort of like odd little bits of digital noise aliasing that I neither know how to get rid of nor oh, hello. Had a little bit problem with the broadcasting software, but I'm back now. So, I was talking about the wave shaping, and I think the one thing that I haven't really covered, let's slow this down a little bit. Okay, just mellow. So the one thing that I don't think I've covered yet here is this part of the range. This is where we go from this shark fin to the more kind of sine-like thing. It's it's not really a sine wave, especially because you can still vary the duty cycle here and make it quite unsine-like. But it's curved. That stuff gets quite interesting with medium amounts of FM, as I learned. These different wave shapes, they don't necessarily sound that different until you start using FM, but then they do. So this is the part where I had cut off the full range here. Oh, and I don't even know if I went over the fact that I'm using this UGen called select. When this argument is 0, it's going to pull in the first argument of this array, or it's going to return that. And when it's 1, it's going to return the second argument. You can have as many array members as you want here, and switch between any number of different UGens. It's like having an analog switch or something like that. And then I'm using something that is similar, but it's a linear crossfade between two UGens in this case. The wave-shaped triangle that we've built, and then a different kind of wave-shaped triangle. I'm feeding the original triangle here into the tanh function, and making it, sort of softening the sharp edges and turning it into something kind of sine-like. Came out with this 2.1 number just by ear. There is probably a way to derive that mathematically, but maybe not. It's not pi. So I'm crossfading between these two, the two waveforms. This is all, like, if you're looking at the bottom waveform here, this whole part of the range from this angled triangle to the other angled triangle to the kind of pulse wave-like thing with one edge a little bit soft. That's all the first member of the array. That's the blend here. And then it's at the very top of the range of the curve control. It's blending it then with the, or mixing it with this wave-shaped triangle, this sinified triangle. And then scaling it based on the percussion envelope. And I didn't talk about these yet. We've got a very basic sine wave oscillator here as the modulator, and a basic envelope here. Env.perc is a nice attack and release envelope that you can, it's triggered rather than gated. You can, yeah, it's got a nice sort of natural decay, and that's just what we want for our LPG simulation. So the first part of doing that is to just apply it as a volume envelope to our oscillator signal. Second part of doing that is to use it as the cutoff for a filter. I'm using a resonant low-pass filter. Supercollider is kind of like, doesn't have a lot of non-resonant or you know, like 6 dB per octave cutoff kind of filters. So I'm using this RLPF UGen mostly because I found that that's what Mark Wheeler's passers-by engine uses, and kind of figured that works well enough. It sounds perfectly good. So I'm taking the envelope signal and scaling it using linexp, which is similar to this lin curve function that I'm using up here. I'm scaling it from a range of 0 to 1 to a range of 2000 hertz to a bit under half of the sample rate. You see a lot of this kind of thing, often sample rate.ir times 0.5 and not 0.4. You see a lot of that in Supercollider. A lot of filters you don't want to let the cutoff exceed the Nyquist frequency, or you get horrible clicks and pops, and you have to like tear your headphones off and throw them across the room. But in this case, I'm using 0.4 as the maximum possible cutoff, just because that sounded a little bit better. It didn't need to be quite as bright as it was when I set this to 0.5. And then because envelope is being scaled by level here, that's going to scale both our volume and our possible cutoff range. So when we call play note from Lua with a lower third argument for level, the cutoff frequency is going to start at a somewhat lower level than it would if you called it with 10 as the third argument. And then, yeah, we're sending it out to the server output using this pan UGen blend. Blend is our oscillator signal times 0.2 just to make sure that it's never like crazy loud. We've got 6 of them going at a time anyway, so those are going to add up. And then, yeah, just taking the pan parameter to control the amount of panning. Context.server.sync we call here in the allocate method. In order to wait for the server, we're sending this synth.def to the server here with send context.server. Sometimes, because this portion of supercollider, the language interpreter, and the actual synthesizing portion are running in separate processes. We need to wait for the server to sort of comprehend the synth.def that we've just made before we can tell the server to do anything with it. So yeah, once the server has sort of like come to terms with what we're telling it to do, we tell it to populate an array of 6 items with 6 new friends. This .add command, this is how you add a command in an engine in norns. IFF, this is telling you the sort of the call signature of the command function. So each of these, this is going to correspond to this engine.note function. These sort of register functions on that engine table in Lua once you've set the engine name. So this is creating commands for playing a note and for panning an individual voice. Both of these take a first argument of an integer, which is the voice index. In supercollider, that's 0 based. In Lua, that's 1 based, which is why we've got this -1 here. Message, this is the entire, I think it's like an open sound control thing that gets sent from Lua to supercollider. And the different parts are the different arguments. Message 0 is going to be the word pan, or the symbol pan, and message 1 is the first argument that was passed in via Lua. So the rest of these are not very interesting. These are just setting arguments on all 6 of the voices. I had talked in one of my earlier streams about using a couple of buses instead of just setting synth arguments this way. I didn't get around to that this weekend. I'll do that eventually. Like, I don't know, later tonight or something. But so yeah, that's the, well, this is an important part. Should we load another script that doesn't use this engine, this free method is going to get called, and it's going to free up the, don't do anything. Okay. It's going to free up the, processing power that's being used by those synths, even when you're not hearing any sound. All of those UGens are always constantly running. It's like, so much in supercollider is like totally analogous to having a modular synthesizer. So like even if your VCAs are all closed, like every single module in there is doing stuff. And even if you don't even have stuff patched, getting late. So, yeah, you gotta free them all. So, and here we are just adding, like registering parameters in the norns params screen for each of those engine functions, or not every single one of them, because note isn't going to be a parameter. But most of the other ones are parameters. We've got ramp, time, curve, ratio, and index. These don't correspond directly to just Friend's front panel controls, just because I haven't fully wrapped my head around how the intone knob works. I don't know whether it's kind of a stepped, are you just switching between integer FM ratios, or does it fade between them a little bit, interpolate a little bit? I don't know. I've done it in a way that was fun for me. And speaking of fun, let's map some of these. Skip that one for now. So this is now the FM amount. It's a lot easier to control the ratio on norns, where you can hold the third key to get into fine control. Okay, had another problem. Now we're back. I'm gonna work on my chopstick skills here. Alright. That's the gist of how the engine is working now. I was kind of thinking when I got to this point that I might see if I could add a little bit of octave variation into the notes here. Let's see if I can do a little bit of that. So we've got this scale. The scale is more than just an octave. I think for present purposes, well, yeah, maybe cut that off at an octave. And instead of just calling math.random with a range of the number of steps in the scale, I'm hiding here in the dark. I'm going to call it with a wider range. Let's see. How many notes have we got? 7 notes. Let's do a range of 3 octaves. Let's do math.random 21. What has happened with my indentation here? So octave is going to be bass note, and this is bass note measured in the scale. So was math.random function 1 based? Look at that. I didn't know that. All right. Okay. Is that right? That's not right. I don't want to end up with, well, this isn't even the octave. To get the octave from these notes, I actually want to do math.or bass note divided by the number of pitches in the scale. I'm going to do -1 so that we get both an octave below the octave we're currently hearing and an octave above it. Yeah, that's okay. That's convenient. And then yeah, bass note. I'm actually going to put this in a function so that I can kind of check my work here. That's what I really want. this function is gonna take a note, like a scale note number, the first scale degree, second scale degree, and give you the value in kind of pseudo volts per octave. Or actually, it's going to give you the chromatic note value, 1 to 12, whatever, yeah, 1 to 11. Well, larger range than that, because it's going to go beyond 12 and below 1 or below 0. Now, I'm pretty sure that I've done this wrong so far, and I'm going to need to add or subtract 1 somewhere, which is why I'm putting this in a separate function, so that I can go back to the REPL. I'm using the maiden command line REPL here, by the way. Let's see, rep note 1. Maybe the trick is just going to be, well, I'm not doing anything with the octave. If you use the command line a lot, or anything else that uses GNU read line, Control R is one of my favorite, like, sort of little known in the circles that I have traveled in, features. That lets you just search through the history. So instead of typing this enormous thing over and over and over again, I've got a command history built up in the REPL that I can navigate through using the up and down arrows or Control P and Control N. But it's even easier to use Control R and just type in some part of the command you're looking for here. Saying it's failed, but that's because I'm already at the top of the history for this session. Anyway, just a little thing you can do. Rep note 1, what am I going to get? That's entirely not what I would expect. Or is it? No, that is what I would expect. So far, so good. In fact, well, do I want 0 to be negative 12? I'd rather, I think, have 1 be negative 12. Well, let's keep going up through the scale. 2, 3. Moment of truth. Is this going to go like down to negative 2 or up somewhere? No. Okay, perfect. So all I need to do here is note -1 modulo scale length +1. So that's yeah. If I had been thinking with my brain instead of my fingers and my mouth, I would have done this in the first place. But this is sort of how you can switch between like a 0-based modulo and this is like a way of getting a kind of fake 1-based modulo. So it doesn't wrap your value down to 0. it wraps it to a range of 1 to pound scale here, which is the number of notes in our scale. Cool. Now what? There we go. I've lost my MIDI mapping because I didn't save it. I didn't save a PMAP. Interesting stuff going on with the FM there. I didn't mention this earlier, but when I was working on this wave shaping, I ran into this very strange problem where the let's see, hope I'm not drowning out my voice completely. The bottom range of the is it ramp? No, the bottom range of the curve control. So where it goes into the pulse wave range. When you went too far with that control, the audio all cut out. I'm used to that happening because, like, as a result of a filter blow up. Like I mentioned, that's when you tear your headphones off and throw them across the room, because usually it's not actually just the audio cutting out, it's like super loud pop, and maybe some like very high frequency ringing. Maybe that's just my ears when that happens. But it wasn't actually the RLPF supercollider filter blowing up, because I'd made sure that the cutoff never went above Nyquist. Somehow it was blowing up the norns reverb by sending like too much DC into it. I don't know. That was OBS telling me it's time to stop. But I do so love dialing in these slightly detuned FM amounts. think that's about it. Thanks to everybody for joining me. Yeah, I'll be adding to this Lua library, I'm sure. I've been enjoying, there's totally like weird digital aliasing going on here, but there's some element to that in just friends, and it's also just kind of fun. So I am not worrying about it right now. And yeah, I'll probably add the sustain mode, not just percussive gates, at some point. Yeah. Thank you.